I do believe we are live with the broadcast. With that said, welcome everybody. I know we've had a few issues here with live streaming, but some big news today in the crypto markets, and we got to talk about it. It's really important. So if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, all you watching, make sure that you do so, because love to have you a part of the community. You also have to make sure to keep watching as well. If you are watching this live stream, then I want you to know I'm going to give away $100 in Bitcoin at the end of the video. We'll keep it to 15 to 30 minutes as far as that goes, but a lot to talk about today because the Bitcoin market, crypto, stock market, everything is green. Looks fantastic. So welcome everybody. Make sure to drop a chat here and then we are good to go. So let's go ahead. Nothing is financial advice. You already knew that. If you ever buy or sell anything based on what one person says, is very foolish. You have to make sure to do your own research. Again, I've been here. I've been very successful in the crypto market for a decade now, but there's been times where I didn't buy and things pumped. There's been times where I didn't sell and things went down. But all in all, nobody's going to be perfect, but it's, what matters is, the rate of success long term, even though you get some things wrong. So let's check out Bitcoin. What's going on, man? It's green today. Look at the bullish engulfing candle. What I pointed out earlier is you really can't, technically, you can't get any easier than this. And so a lot of times this doesn't even end up happening, but this time it did. And basically what happened for Bitcoin was it swept the top of the range and it swept the bottom of the range. And as you can see here, the top of the range that we saw last time, right? Swept the top of it. This is the daily chart. We could probably go down to the 4 hour, the bottom of the range here, and it swept that area. And then what do you know? It pumped to the mid range already. So massive pump today for Bitcoin. What caused the pump in the markets? Unless you live under a rock, which most people don't, you're going to know that FOMC meeting minutes came out Wednesday. Those minutes were actually hawkish, meaning that it was likely that they weren't going to cut rates in September. Even I felt the pressure of this because we saw that the probability of rate cuts went from 100% to 90% to 80% to 70%. It kept dropping day after day after day. And a lot of people were speculating maybe this isn't so good for the market to cut rates right now, for the economy in general, at least in the United States. As I know, people are watching here are all around the world, which is great. So, but regardless of where you live, unfortunately, the markets mostly depend on what the Federal Reserve central banks do for the United States. So we know that the U.S. is a major factor in the markets. So we do want to look at, what was said today. And after that happened, let me find the news here. We saw that Fed Chair Powell indicated conditions may warrant interest rate cuts as the Fed proceeds carefully. So this is the only thing that people needed to hear, because Powell always does a really good job of balancing, rate cuts, politics, etc. And he never wants to basically give you the direct answer because, again, he knows that will impact markets, that has a major impact on the economy, but he did hint at it. And so what he said exactly, let's go ahead and break it down. And so the summary of what he said, if you guys can see this right here, is that there was a shifting balance of risk, which may warrant adjusting policy, basically meaning that they have been hiking rates, and hiking rates is now dead. They're no longer going to be hiking rates. And again, that's very good for risk on assets, because the lower rates go, the more money you can borrow. And maybe not you, but I'm talking about people who can borrow billions of dollars and millions. They then go buy risk on assets and then from there prices go up because money is cheap when rates are low. But then Powell also suggests downside risk to the unemployment rising. So we did talk about that. And so the prior minutes for the FOMC that were hawkish, okay, that was prior to the unemployment data. Now, after that came out, new unemployment data came out. Unemployment was bad, meaning people were losing jobs. Because of that, they now see that as a higher risk overall. So labor supply has softened in line with demand. The Fed abandoning flexible average inflation targeting framework. Basically, what that flexible average inflation means, they were a little bit more chill with it. But bottom line, with inflation, they're changing that framework up. So again, they still want to really put a lid on inflation, but the job market and the unemployment just isn't great right now. So with that, they want to potentially cut rates. And so can't take stable inflation expectations for granted. Anyway, all this to say is that they flipped big time between 2 days ago and today, those minutes to today. And really what it's coming down to now is that job reports right here, job reports will dictate rate cuts going forward. Okay. Listen to this. Job reports will dictate rate cuts going forward. So what that means is that there's going to be a shift from the CPI. As you know, we've been looking at the consumer price, the CPI, the data with inflation, and that's still very important. Don't get me wrong, okay? But what's going to be the most important thing coming out now that could impact the markets from a week-to-week, month-to-month time frame is the unemployment and the job data. So on those days, you need to make sure that you're by a chart, by your phone, that you're able to view that, because that could create either an uptick or a pullback in prices in the market. Again, so with that said, if unemployment continues to remain high, it's likely they're going to cut rates. So in 2 weeks, we're going to have the non-farm payroll data come out for jobs. What does that mean? That means in 2 weeks, on September 5th, it's likely to have a big impact also in the market. You have to pay attention to these job reports now. And that's what I want you to know. Okay, if you get anything out of today's video, it's this. Job reports are going to be the most important factor. Okay, regardless of what you see anywhere now. Inflation's important. Naturally, we don't want inflation going up. I don't want inflation going up. Everything's already too expensive, and I think that you guys can agree, but job reports. So that's what we want to watch, okay? So job reports data going forward, I'll make sure to highlight that as it goes. And so again, a big one in 2 weeks, the non-farm payroll is going to be on September 5th, and that's at 8:30 Eastern Time a.m. So you have to know that, okay? So now you know in 2 weeks. So FOMC, by the way, FOMC is in September 16th and 17th. So FOMC is when they're going to cut rates. That's probably going to be a sell the news event. Why I'm telling you guys this is that you saw the market reaction today. What did it do? 117K for Bitcoin right now. How about the stock market? Right below, this is the stock market right here. Here's the SPX. Right below all-time high. Pumped almost 2% already in a day. That's massive for stock markets. That's huge. Okay? So what I think is going to happen is prices will continue to go up on these assets. We'll get some pullbacks. All right, let's talk about that in a minute. If you missed this pump, you'll get some pullbacks, but I think that we're going to see the market continue to rally. Stocks all-time highs, Bitcoin higher. Right now, it's looking okay. We'll talk about that. Ethereum, fantastic right now, 4,800. And a lot of the other ones, they're going to probably continue to trend up after pullbacks. But come FOMC time, it's likely that we're going to see that as a sell the news event. You have to understand that the reason the market moves the way it does, I mean, if you're buying based on news, typically that's not, I mean, that's not known. Okay, it might pump or dump. But if you're buying on news that everybody already knows, if you go to the Fed Watch right now, it's already back up to around 90%. Okay, as I said earlier, the probability of rate cuts went from 100 to 90 to 80 to 70. Now we're already back up 20% higher to 90%. Not, 90%, they're going to cut rates. Okay, everybody knows it. And likely what's going to happen is that you may even get an initial pump off that, but I think what will happen is it's going to be a sell the news event. Buy the rumor, sell the news. It happens all the time in markets. If you're waiting to buy September 16th and 17th, I know you guys aren't. I know you guys are already in the market. But if your friends and family are waiting to buy, it's likely they're going to be a little late. And then what I think will happen is the typical pullback that we tend to get in September, October. October is usually good by the end of it, but September, pull back one more time and then higher again if they're cutting rates. So you just have to understand that is likely going to be the case. Now, what I can do too is I'll probably go to CoinGlass and look at the history of Bitcoin. I'm going to go ahead and type that in right here. And just to remind you that we were red in Q3, but now we're in green. August typically is red. Now, because of this news, this is the only reason why we're up right now, okay? Because of the cutting rates news. But August, September tend to be red, October green. So what we can likely foresee, for the most part, is for the market to then pull back on that news. Again, speculation, but likely what happens, pull back in September, we go into October on that dip, and then Q4 hopefully is a good Q4 overall. If you want to go ahead and base this off every 4 years for Bitcoin, back in 2021, we had a phenomenal October, but the November, December weren't very good. November, actually, we hit all new highs. So the problem with November is that we pumped to new highs and then we dumped after that. But still, October, November were pretty good. And I know a lot of you guys weren't necessarily here in 2017, 2018. But again, green on those times. So, every 4 years or so tends to be after the halving, how things go. But it's a whole new ballgame now because the ETFs, with so many funds in and banks in now, it's just a totally different ballgame than we had back in 4 years ago or 8 years ago. So, but bottom line, I do believe that's what we see happens. Okay, so for you guys watching, just know, keep watching. We'll go ahead and draw pretty soon for that $100 of Bitcoin. So, for those available on here, and right now, I only have about 30 people. So, your chances are pretty good. You get on those live streams where there's like 1,000, 2,000 people, and it's a little bit harder to win those. But let me go ahead and talk to you about something right now. Now, I said this on yesterday's video, okay? And you can go back and watch that. And I said alert, and I gave you 2 scenarios, okay? I did give you a scenario of going as low as 103, 102. I just have to give that scenario. If I don't, it's just like I want you to be ready for both. And that's the thing, is like nobody knows what's going to happen. You actually saw a lot of people call for, this is it, we're going down. Arthur Hayes said that, the old BitMEX CEO. He really thought that we were going to 102, 103, I think as well, or just lower. A lot of people were like, we're going to what Mechanism Capital founder said that we're going to like 3,300 Ethereum, those types of things are lower. But just understand, a lot of people were bearish or even short. So, but I did give you a scenario for lower, but also higher. The higher is what I said for this, though. I said you want to break this area. You got to break this area right here, okay? Why that area? Well, that is really acted as kind of a zone where we had a lot of volume and a lot of action. And so this was kind of a tough resistance even now. If you go ahead, we're at the hourly chart right here. Let's even go down to the 15-minute chart and notice This was the sticky area. Notice how we pumped, and we got to this area, and this is where it had some trouble. Now, 15-minute chart right here. Again, intraday chart. I really prefer more of like the 4-hour chart. The higher time frame charts, I prefer higher time frame 4-hour daily. I want those to close over this 116 to 117. Now, I also believe in pullbacks. If you miss this pump, okay, if you didn't have a spot position open, you don't even necessarily need to have leverage, right? I don't always trade with a ton of leverage. I do a lot of altcoin trading on leverage. I trade 2 to 3x. But if you miss this pump, what I recommend you do is to wait for pullbacks. And that's where you tend to want to enter. Specifically pullbacks that have acted as a lot of support and resistance. So again, if we look at this level right here, this major area for Bitcoin, there is possibility where price can actually continue on up. Okay, I don't know whether it rejects off maybe, oh, that's an awful line. Let's do that again. Whether it rejects off this level right here, one of these, right? And then comes back down. This, I mean, again, I'm buying this level more spot if it comes back down here, okay? So just be aware that I tend to, if there's been a big pump, eventually we're going to get a pullback, and I like to price to pull back in those areas and to buy. I'll give you another one too with like Solana. Okay, Solana right here. Check this out. Solana, if you zoom out, it's basically in a long-term uptrend. See, it looks pretty good. But if you go ahead and zoom in, what you're going to notice is this is kind of the area that it needs to break. And notice that it's having trouble here for Solana. Wick up on the hourly chart here. It's struggling. So I want to see Solana actually break above that. Now, if we can see that happen, typically what I want to do is either buy a pullback if it decides to pull back a little lower, okay, like down here, or if it breaks up higher and it comes back down. I do like this area around 196 to 197 and then higher. So what I tell people is it's really hard to chase green candles. It really is, because in the end, eventually it is going to pull back. That's just the bottom line, because people bought down here and they're going to take profits on trades up here. Okay. And so you have to understand that's what's happening. So buyers become sellers. You have a little bit of distribution. You need more buyers to come in, which in a market like this, it's going to happen, and then higher up. So that's what we want to see happen. And if you miss the pump, you want to hit those pullbacks, okay? Find those levels for your main coins. Check this out. Even with Link right here, not too bad. This is the area where Link broke out at, and it's actually breaking back down, okay? So, for Link, honestly, hitting almost $28, bursting from 24 up to 28, it went up 15-20% here. Coming back down like this, retesting the previous local high. I don't see a problem with bidding down here. I don't see a problem with bidding between, 26 to 27. And if you get it wrong, you get it wrong, and you can cut and you can go back. But, I mean, buying 26 is better than buying 28, right? Okay, so if you're looking to get into spot, if you're looking to dollar cost average, and I've been talking about Link for so long, notice this higher high and higher low. I mean, there's a lot of fundamental bullishness with Link right now. Now, I don't like this 4-hour wick, unfortunately, but if it can close higher than 26.46, it's probably pretty good. But if you do zoom on out, I can see this going to as low as 26. Again, buy opportunity. That's what I think. Okay. So, all right, guys. So that's what you want to do. Solana, I talked about that. And then Ethereum, looking fantastic. Zoom on out. Check out what Ethereum is doing right here. It's actually looking to hit a new all-time high. So that's what we're looking at for Ethereum. and it's not too far away. Let me go ahead and stick this on here. It's not too far away right here, 48.67. We're about $100 away for Ethereum. Daily looks phenomenal. It's up 20%. So if Ethereum does pull back, you know, I'm a buyer at 46.50. Okay. A couple of things. A lot of times what tends to happen, guys, initially, right, is it's breaking this prior area. So if it does pull back, you know, 46.50 would be a great place to buy. If it does break all-time highs, also too, a lot of times with these assets, they'll break all-time highs and then they'll pull back. All right. It's a lot of times they don't tend to just keep running. They don't break and just keep running. They can, but a lot of times what happens, people set orders to sell above new highs. That's just what they do. All right. So being a breakout trader isn't always great. I don't recommend it. I always recommend buying more of these pullbacks. So you're going to have more success if you can do that. But a break of the all-time high, pullback of ETH, and then up to hopefully over 5,000. I know that a lot of people were talking about, specifically with the Watcher Guru right here, talking about an 88% chance on the market for ETH to hit 5,000 in 2025. I said no. I said 99.99%. It's gonna hit 5,000. It just is. It's just, that's the easiest trade ever. I mean, but again, it's priced in. You know, if you took the no, you'd be making a lot more money. But at this point, you might as well just buy ETH. Don't be betting on it. It's gonna break 5,000. These are better. People may ask, will it break 6,000, 7,000? I think I don't know about 7,000, but I do think a 50% chance to break 6,000. I do like that for sure. I think that ETH is just so strong right now. Notice one thing that you want to buy is strength. What's pumped the hardest over the past couple of hours? ETH. ETH has pumped the hardest. ETH and probably Link. Link has been really strong, okay? More than Bitcoin. If we go ahead and look at the ETH BTC chart, let's go ahead and look at that before we go. Look at that. Look how strong that is, okay? So you want to be in ETH even more. If you're trading, you want to be in ETH over BTC more. You want a dollar cost average into Bitcoin, long-term hold, right? Cold storage, whatever. Bitcoin is what you want to hold long-term, but trading ETH is probably one of the strongest things. So, all right. So we're about over 20 minutes right now. Those are just some things I wanted to touch base. Really, market looking good. There's been a change in language. Okay. Prepare for those rate cuts in September. That's important to remember. Understand that job reports will dictate rates going forward. Okay. Less CPI. CPI is important, but more job reports, job data, unemployment. That's going to be key. All right. So that's been a change. Rate cuts. Rate cuts is likely going to be a sell the news event. Okay. In September. So hopefully markets continue to trend up. We will have pullbacks. Don't sweat it. We'll have pullbacks. That's just a part of it. And then likely new all-time highs for stocks. Stock index looking pretty good right now. Likely new all-time high for Ethereum. Bitcoin, not as strong as Ethereum or altcoins right now. So you do want to be in strength if you're trading. Those dips on Link, those dips on Solana, not looking as strong as some of these. But the thing about Solana is this, before I end it, Solana with rumors of having treasuries buy up Solana from really big funds, potentially, okay? That will push Solana to new all-time highs. That's less than a 2x, but still, for a major, that's really good. You're not going to see a 2x in Bitcoin quite yet, right? That would be 240,000. What's more likely to hit an all-time high in the next year? What's likely to 2x in the next year? I would say Solana, Chainlink, maybe Ethereum, Bitcoin. I do like Bitcoin over 200, but it's still not a 2x. So I think overall, 2x's potential. Solana is a great opportunity here in the next year. We want to go slow. I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow by any means, but it's going to take some time. But that's just what I wanted to talk about. So what we can go ahead and do is draw for some Bitcoin, $100 in Bitcoin. So what you do is this, is that I'll draw the name. You can put it in the comments below, okay? And from there, I'll send it to you. The last guy, it did take a couple of days for the fact that I couldn't see his comment because YouTube actually blocks those, but I can actually go in the back end and find those. So if you're the winner, just drop a Bitcoin address in the comments on the video. You want to do that. And so let's see here. Is everybody here? Okay. $100 in Bitcoin. Where are we going to? Let's see here. I can't read the name. Oh, it is Swamp Dog 82. Swamp Dog. My brother. $100 in Bitcoin. Swamp Dog 82. Okay. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. All right. You win the Bitcoin. And with that said, guys, don't be sad. We're going to keep doing these Bitcoin giveaways on these live streams. So you got to be pumped for that. You got to be here. You got to be live for it. All right. So if you're not here, and guys, don't be upset. I'm going to keep doing this, right? So it's just, I just started live streams the past week. So we've got a long way to go, especially don't be upset if you're in the chat. We'll have more, okay? Yeah, you can just send your addy in the comments. Nobody's going to see it probably. So but anyways, guys. So with that said, understand that we've got a lot of room to go, a lot of bullish catalyst ahead, but we are going to have pullbacks like this. And Bitcoin's looking pretty good. Strong stocks are looking pretty good. Solana and Link. But we are going to have some pullbacks after these big pumps. So you got to be ready for those. Okay. So I'll go ahead and I'll make a new video as well. So if you weren't if anybody wasn't on the live stream, I'm going to make one shorter, probably 5 to 10 minutes to explain what went on. But you guys can go ahead and support that. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel as well. We'll keep having these live streams. We'll keep giving away Bitcoin, and we'll keep going up from here. Okay, guys? So with that said, you guys have a great rest of your day. You guys trade safe,